With your support, more transition-age foster youth can heal, grow, and thrive.
Welcome back, folks. Franco Vega here with you for RightWay Podcast. We got our second part of our awesome interview with Johna, who's an awesome alumni with the RightWay Foundation. Just bring you guys up to speed. She talked about entering the foster care system at 9 years old, not successfully living with her first placement with so-called families. Then she went over to Big Mama, and Big Mama took care of her, introduced her to the oldies and the old school stuff. That's, I believe, is very effective for this new school folks right now. But now we're about to turn our tune and go into her career right now because she's doing some amazing things. She's probably the most popular person I know in Hollywood, next to Amy Adams. But Johna, let's talk about your career. What's going on?
So for me, when I was 21, I went to Africa and Brazil. And while I was out in Brazil, Sid applied for a grant with the National Endowment of the Arts, and we got $10,000 to do something around arts. So originally we was like, oh, we're gonna do a youth showcase, have youth come out, showcase their talents, you know what I mean, and just make it like this big Hollywood thing. But then when we did it, we got a bunch of films in, and we was like, oh, maybe this is a film festival, you know, a youth film festival that we start. And so it went from the Real to Real Global Showcase, Youth Showcase, to the Real to Real Global Youth Film Festival, which I now been the co-founder and producing for the last 11 years.
Isn't that we partnered with you guys on that or something long
yes,
time ago.
Actually, in our third year, the National Endowment of the Arts cut the funding, and I remember coming to you saying, man, Franco, we need to come up with $10,000 to be able to do this event. I don't know how we gonna do it. And you was like, actually, PBS just came to me and they doing a arts thing that they trying to do, and maybe I could just connect you with them instead, and you could use that money for the thing. And that really helped us out. That's what carried us through our third year. Wow. And really helped us solidify, because you know, after year 3, people like, okay, this is something that's structured, that's good. So then you start getting more investors and people willing to invest into you, right? And so shout out to you, by the way.
That was the best $10,000 investment we could make.
Shout out to you. And people don't do that, you know what I mean? And so shout out to you for that. But we started that festival, right? And about 5 years in, we started hiring people and paying young foster youth from the system to help me produce the festival. And it wasn't a lot, but it was like a little stipend, and they got to gain experience, and they got to be like, I produced this event, you know. And for some of them, they was like, this is a life-changing opportunity.
A lot of interns in Hollywood don't pay, so you guys are paying.
So, you know. And even now, it's even better, right? Because now we went, last year, all right, so during the process of me doing my festival, I did take a break, right? I took a 2-year break, and I went to go work at Jimmy Kimmel. I got hired to work at Jimmy Kimmel, and I was there for 2 years. Shout out to my boss, Cameron King. He was the dopest, the best boss I've ever had to this day. But about, I don't even remember what year it was now, because I'm over it. But the second year I was there, you know, my boss ended up quitting. And Cameron. Cameron quit. And so a new guy got hired. And when that new guy got hired, it wasn't nobody really there to advocate for me as an African American person in a workspace, and just as a production assistant, right? Because our last boss was a PA. He came up as a PA, so he had respect for us as PAs and made other people respect us as PAs, right? And so they didn't like that, right? It's a lot of ego in Hollywood, and so he ended up quitting. They hired the new guy. That new guy was with all the BS that they wanted to do, right? And there was 2 black PAs left, you know, and we had a meeting with the guy that was the head of the production department, and he said, and we were the only 2 left that were still like vets. We was the ones who was there the longest. He says, you know, a PA job isn't supposed to be no more than a year. So if you've been here longer than that, you should start thinking about what you want to do. Because if you're here for a paycheck, you can go work at McDonald's or something like that, because at this point you're taking up spots for people who could be here, right? Whoa. And as a person sitting in the meeting hearing this, and you know that you and one other person are the only 2 people in this room that's been here longer than a year, it's hard to not feel like, oh, you trying to throw shots at me, right?
Picking on us.
And not feel uncomfortable in the workplace after that, right? And so the first person quit first. She was like, you know what, I'm putting in my resignation letter. I'm taking a leap of faith. I'm going to go and chase my dreams. I got stuff that I can do. You know, I got people that's going to help me and support me. I followed suit about a month later. I was like, you know what? I can't do it no more. You know, it was just like, it just became really toxic. And it just became really draining. I found myself being tired all the time. And I didn't know at the time it was because I was dealing with microaggressions and things like that. But mind you, I took a break from something that I was already doing, my film festival.
Correct.
And Better Youth was still producing it. And I came in to like help. We did an online festival during the pandemic because I was working during the pandemic at Jimmy Kimmel. So we did do an online festival. So I was a part of that. But I kind of like stepped away and wasn't as hands-on. So when I came back, I was like, okay, what is it that I want to do with this, right? It's more than a film festival. I got young producers helping me out. How can I really make the most of this? And so that year I came back, I went through a lot of turmoil with the people I was with. I hired friends to work with me, learned a valuable lesson.
Now back to your film festival.
To my film festival. Sorry, we're back to the film festivals, guy. This is after I left Jimmy Kimmel. You know, but I wanted to highlight that because I did work there for 2 years. It was a great learning experience. A great learning experience. Hollywood. I met a lot of really great people.
What's the little Mexican guy who drinks a lot? His sidekick?
Guillermo. Shout out to Guillermo. That's my guy, man. He a cool guy? I love Guillermo, man. But yeah, I had a really great time working there up until Cam quit. Once Cam quit, it went downhill. It happens. Right? But I'm grateful that I like, that's a job that most people pray to get. You know what I mean? And so I don't take that for granted. And I am very much aware of the blessing in that, right? But I decided it was time for me to go back to working on my own thing, right? I was like, because one thing I kept hearing at Jimmy Kimmel is, that's just the way it is. It's Hollywood. That's just the way it is. And I remember, like, not immediately, but as epiphany hit me, I was like, but that's not just the way that it is. That's the way that you are allowing it to be, because it benefits you at the detriment of a whole group of people that you could care less about because it's not impacting you, right? But when it does impact you, then you will start changing that tune from that's just the way it is. And I realized, like, you know what? With my film festival, I don't operate like this. And my film festival is in Hollywood. We've been in Hollywood for the last 11 years. And I don't operate with the way that these shows or these people operate, like with these mean spirits. You know what I mean?
Let me go deep real quick, not to cut you off. How the heck did you recognize that? How do you recognize things like that?
Like,
it's like an all-seeing eye. You saw something. How did you see that? What made you see that, or what did you go through to recognize, you know, that it's not really Hollywood, you know, it's them, and not lack of a better term, it's just evilness or something of that nature. How would I describe that? How would you see things like that, you know? And you used the word retrospect and introspect earlier, you know? So what upbringing that helped you out from your trauma to help you see things like that?
Interesting. I think like just growing up in the hood, but also it wasn't trauma that made me see that. It was, you got me a job at Refinery 29. I worked at Refinery 29. It was in the industry. They gave me a MacBook. They fed me on Wednesdays. They respected me. Nobody there, I didn't ever feel like anybody there was looking down on nobody, whether they was a producer, a director, an editor. No, everybody just respected each other, right? So when you work in an environment like that in Hollywood, and then you go to another environment that's completely toxic, and then they say that's just the way it is. It's like, no, that's the way that you're choosing for it to be, because it benefits you to be this way. Or maybe, you know what I mean, on a deeper dive, you grew up and never really had power. So now that you're in a position of power, you abuses that power without necessarily realizing it, right?
Yeah.
And like I told them when I left Jimmy Kimmel, I said, I don't believe that you guys are racist. I think that y'all subconscious biases plays a part in the conscious decisions that y'all make when it comes to handling PAs, when it comes to handling people that you may think is beneath you or below you. Your biases are what plays a role in those conscious decisions that you're making.
Wow. Very deep. Very educational.
Yeah.
Hopefully one of our audience members is moved and is turning the light bulb on for them. Okay, also, so another show. Good Lord. We can never get just good 10 minutes in and call it a day. Please tune back in for part 3, because now we want to hear what's your game plan and where you see yourself at in the next 5 years, you know. Because I know you're going to be higher level in Hollywood than you are today. You're high level right now, but you're going to get higher. So, folks, please tune in next week where we'll have Johna back, and she'll talk about her pain to power. Peace and God bless.